What's up, people? Struggling today. All right. I'm running late today, and I'm not even running late because of work or home stuff. I'm running late because my allergies is kicking my ass to the point I couldn't even think this morning. But couldn't even get my mind right so that we can have our discussions today. Couldn't even focus on like what I wanted to teach today or what we want to discuss today. Was struggling. This morning, this afternoon. Well, I don't even know what time it is. My one eye is red as all get out because I think I got some pollen or something in it. So I got one contact on. Grand Rising Debbie, how you doing? Yo, shout out where you at when you come on. I like to know where the people are. So the way I came up with today's subject is based on a couple of videos I'm probably going to make later on today, just to be able to make them. But that's right, Debbie. You in Texas. I was just in Texas not a month ago. But so I get this lady. She's on my TikTok, and she's telling me, the white lady, talking about how we need to get over it as Black people and giving incorrect information. How prisons are filled with mostly Black people when actually it's mostly white people that are in prison. Telling me that I need to just get over it, all the injustices that her ancestors have, done to my ancestors. That I just need to get over it, and that's what's holding me back and holding back Black people. And then I was having a conversation with another person. They was, talking about how everything is Black, everything in history is Black, everything in history is Black. Black people did everything. And then he went as far as said that white people haven't invented nothing. Asian people ain't invented nothing. Everything's Black. What's up, Brandon? How y'all doing? So it was like, everything's Black. And I was like, okay, man, look, I understand that Black people have done some great things, but everything ain't Black. Everything ain't white either. But we whitewash, blackwash history and religion. And the one that irks me the most, that gets on my goat, is I was having this conversation with this gentleman. Nice guy and all. And it's kind of weird. It turns out, y'all, let me tell you how small this world is. Dude comes into my lounge. It turns out that he was in one of my briefings when I was stationed in Germany, way back in 95, 96. Like, how in the hell is the world so small that a guy who was in one of my briefings in 96 walks through my door? World is small. All right. But religion is the main one. Okay, most people on this planet, you're born into a family. That family already has a religion. Most of the time, that religion in this world that we live in, you're going to be born into a Christian religion. You're going to be Judaism, Islam, Hindu, or Buddhism. More than likely, most people. You have your other people born into Ifa and Druids and everything else, Shinto, Taoism. You have people born into religions. But the big three, the main ones, is Judaism, is the Abrahamics, and Hinduism. Those are like your four biggest. Well, in Buddhism, so five biggest. The five biggest religions that most people are born into. Why are we trying to claim everything? Like, I get Black people always coming on to my videos talking about how the Bible is a book written by Black people for Black people, but white people that came and then I changed it up and made it about them. How does that invalidate all the negative shit that's in the book? That's what my next question is always to those people. What's up, Jeremy, Brandon, Deborah? Ain't seen you in a long time. I own a cigar lounge, so I always have cigars on my videos. If that offends you, then you'll be all right. But that's the question. That's one of my questions. We like to blackwash, whitewash and religion wash history. We want to make everything that great happen, black or white, depending upon your perspective, or you want to make it all fit your religion. It's an illogical thing to do. It shows that you have an inner issue, a lack within yourself. How you doing from Michigan? How you doing? Unity is what we really need. Unity would be a nice thing. But let's face it, these humans don't know how to get down with unity. These humans don't know how to do that. And I'm gonna need y'all to help me out today. I'm telling you, this allergy in this eye, my brain ain't working at 100 today. But we're gonna make this happen. That's why I'm late. But so I'm having this discussion with this gentleman. He's a Hebrew Israelite. And I explained to him that when you walk into my cigar lounge, there are 3 words that you cannot use. You cannot use the B word in my lounge. You cannot use even though it starts with a W, I have to tell these jokers, the H word, when that would like to refer to the garden tool. I don't know why they can't spell it in its right format, but I have to tell them H. And we do not use the N word in my cigar lounge. Yes, I know my eye is really red. This pollen in Georgia is horrible. San Diego, how you doing? So after explaining to him that, now it's not that he was going to be disobedient about utilizing the N word in my lounge, because I don't allow anybody to use that. I am more offended when a black person used that word towards me than I am a white person, because I remember when I was I think it was around the 5th or 6th grade, when a black teacher tried to explain how the N word is a word that can be used for anybody. It just means ignorant, lazy, that sort of thing. What's this session about now in the lounge? Yeah, I'm in my cigar lounge. All right, it's a terrible word. But I proceeded to explain it was 7th grade. I proceeded to explain to my 7th grade teacher that the N word cannot be a word that's used for anybody. That it was a word that was designed to strip black people of their humanity, strip them of their history, strip them of their religion, strip them of their name, strip them completely down to base level animal. I got sent to the principal's office, but that was okay, because when my grandfather came up there, he made sure that I went right back to class because I wasn't wrong. It was great to have a grandfather who would support you as long as you're right. If you was wrong, it was totally different. But I have never found it a term of endearment, because these brothers are Cuban, and they was explaining to me, because I'm moving to Puerto Rico. He was explaining that there's this phrase that they use in Cuba that's a term of endearment that got something negro, which would be the same thing of saying my end. And I was like, they can say it to y'all, but they say it to me, I'm not gonna like it. But that's y'all culture, so do whatever you do. But I don't do that. But he starts to explain how the word is pronounced Niger or Niger, and that it was the term of royalty or impression or something. The way he was explaining, he talked a lot. But I had to look at him. I was like, bro, that's not how that word wasn't you. That word is not related to the other word, right? That word, when you look at the word Niger was a description of a skin tone of people of importance back in the days of the Roman days, the Ethiopians, and so on and so forth. That is not what slave masters was trying to convey to black people. And I'm gonna try to answer questions today, because I told you I'm gonna need y'all help. How do you feel about race baiting lives that pit people against one another based on race? Well, I think that's a tool of the government to be able to keep people separated. You got multiple ways of keeping people separated, whether it's financial, whether it's gender, and whether it's race. As long as the people stay separated, then the people can never come against the true enemy, which would be the elites or the elites who are running everything. But then some things but in order for that to not be an issue, people have to take responsibilities for what their people have done. and, you know, what their people have done and what people are doing today. Just as much as people in the past, just as much as America need to pay repentance for what it did to black people need to continue, or black people need to take responsibility for what they can do today, irregardless of what the situation is today and what happened in the past. So there has to be a twofold aspect to it. You know, you can't sit back, and we don't sit back. And that's actually, see, that's part of a video I'm gonna make today in reference to this woman named Tammy, who had a whole lot to say on one of my other videos. You know, black people have never sat back as a group, as a whole, has never sat back and then just accepted the woes of America. You know, you give a shit and we turn it into a shit sandwich. And that shit sandwich be seasoned up real nice. You don't even know it's shit. You know, you give us fucked up neighborhoods and messed up schools, we turn it and do the best we can with it to move it forward. We push those who can get in and those who can get out, those who can do better. You know? But we got to do a better job at moving more of the masses. We got to go back to policing our own communities. You know, I was talking to my lady. We was talking, I think it was yesterday or the day before. We don't know our neighbors. I know my one neighbor, the one across the street, he's a police officer. I know him. I think we need to come together against all the government division. We do. But you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan of what comes next. So I'm listening to this gentleman, and like so many others, and they want to take religion and they want to make it black, and they want to make it fit an Afrocentric mindset. They want to take, let me rephrase, they want to take the Abrahamic religions and they want to give it an Afrocentric mindset. My struggle is that this religion has done more damage to the world than damn near anything else. It's second only to the acquirement of resources. But second to the acquirement of resources, we have religion, and Christianity being one of the most destructive religions that the planet has ever seen. And yet, we want to make this black. We want to make this a part of who we are. We want to make it a part of our ancestors. Why would we do that? You never saw Ifa go out and colonize and enslave and strip the world. We never saw Hinduism go out and colonize and strip the world. We didn't see the Aztecs and the Mayans. Yes, they had human sacrifices, but guess what? Ancient Israelites had animal sacrifices. I mean, human sacrifices and baby sacrifices. It's just they all did it, but they never went out and forced the world into slavery. Islam and Christianity are the only two religions that's ever went out and done that. And Christianity did it the most. So why do we as black people want to claim that religion? Why would we want to blackwash that religion? Show me the black ancient ancestors who converted over to Christianity, and I will be saddened by them. Christianity is black and white and all kinds, but the people hate each other. Right. You got black, white people. That's the thing of today, and of any time, but even more so today, because I do agree that I do look at the fact that we have a higher developed morality today than the people who wrote the book, right? I mean, I think we can all agree to that. The people who wrote the book, their level of morality is less than our morality today. I mean, they wrote this book where, you know, genocide is okay. That if God said we can go and genocide these people, that's okay. They wrote this book where the subjugation of women is okay. That slavery was okay. We're better than that today. We are. We have a higher level of morality. The book was used in order to fulfill the transatlantic slave trade. Trans-Saharan, that's the Quran. But the transatlantic slave trade, the occupation of India, The book was used for all those things. Those people had less morals than we do today. Today, we should be able to, any average person should be able to look at the world and recognize that if you're Christian, you should be able to look at the book and say that you're supposed to love the greatest commandment is to love the Father and keep all his commandments. And if there was a second one, is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But this is not demonstrated by the people within the religion. On Sunday, they will all segregate themselves and go to their own churches. Right? They go around and they want to force their religion on people, but yet those people are their enemy. They hate each other. You take them out, and if a black, white, any race of Christians are in one church together, they will love and hug on each other. But the moment that they're outside that building, they start to see the person's race. They see the person's economics. They see the person's gender. They seeing them as a child of God, a child of a person in the family of Christ, as they would say, or whatever they would say, whatever the new terminology is today. But then they show so much hate towards each other outside that room. They watch the news and they become the Democrats and the Republicans. They want to go back to make America great again. Great for who? America has never been great for my people. Not in the day. America has progressively gotten better for my people. But at no time in the past has America been better for my people than it is right now. Right? And they can't understand that. We Hindus do not go out and force our religion on other people. Exactly. Just went to a Hindu temple about a month or so ago. Had a great time. Loved it. Some beautiful pictures. It is all written by man about great people of the time and the era. Right. If you didn't become a Christian, they threatened to kill you back. Yeah. Back in the day, they would try to kill you if you weren't Christian. If you didn't convert over to Christianity, you may die. And if you weren't Christian back in the day, you were ostracized from the community. But this is supposed to be a religion about love. Love, 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 love and forgiveness. But yet the very people who practice this religion do not show love nor forgiveness. They talk about you got to repent. It's a joke in the lounge. It's a joke in here amongst a certain group of people. Because we was talking about hell. All right, we was talking about hell. And I was telling them, y'all gonna want to go to hell. Because when I get to hell, I'm gonna turn hell into a party. It's gonna be a good time in hell. We're gonna have all the great party in hell. The best DJs, everything's gonna be great in hell. So it was just making jokes, just talking trash. This one guy, he was like, y'all need to, you have to know him and hear his voice. Because if you're not from Atlanta, you don't know this accent. But he just bust out right the perfect moment, like, nah, man, you need to repent, man. That's how he talks. He's not drunk, but he gets drunk. He drinks, but he sounds like he's drunk even when he's not drunk. But he was just, the way he talks is just very different from the deck. But they talk about repentance, but don't even understand what repentance means. I did a video yesterday where I talked about the fact that, there cannot be any forgiveness until there is first repentance. That from repentance, you gain forgiveness. If you haven't repented for this, whatever you created, then how can you expect somebody to forgive you? I cannot forgive America for the atrocities that it perpetuated upon, my ancestors, because America has not paid repentance for it. You cannot claim that you paid repentance because you set my ancestors free, but then you create a bank, the Freedmen's Bank. You take the slaves' earned money and then you give it to white landowners. You pay repentance, you give money and pay repentance to the former slave owners, but you don't pay it to the slaves for their lost goods and lost commodities. You even in the 1940s, you come up with redlining, and you're able to deny Black Americans homes while you give homes and land to white Americans. How do you expect me to forgive you if you haven't repented? You can't. There is none. There's no forgiveness. Now, what I'm going to talk about later in a different video concerning this dumbass woman that was talking to me, and I'm going to say it that way because I have a low tolerance when it comes to ignorance, because the moment that she said that black people make up the majority of people in prison, it showed me her ignorance, because actually white people make up 57.5% of the number of people in prison. It shows her ignorance and lack of study. But I'm not willing to forgive a country and it hasn't paid penance for what it did, but when it flooded out towns, when it burnt down towns, and some of these relatives are still alive today who can trace their family members to those towns and to those, to those locations. And this country still hasn't. No, I'm not. Now, what she does not understand is that even though America has put all of those things in front of us, even though there was redlining, we still bought homes. We still built communities. Even though our schools were not funded, we still made ways to get it done. I have volunteered my time when I used to have free time. I volunteered my time and I used to go to the black schools in Atlanta that didn't get the funding. And they got one textbook, but they got 30 kids in the class. And I'm in that damn copier room and I'm copying. And then here comes another teacher and she's giving me other stuff to copy. They copy in textbooks because they can't afford to get the textbooks. What that young lady don't understand is that black people make a way no matter what the situation is. We're going to make it. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. And I want you to think about that for a second. Think about how racist this is. This is actually racist. Think about how redlining is set up. Redlining is set up so that black Americans cannot own. It prevents government bodies from backing loans. So it makes mortgage companies and bankers make black homes less desirable, black neighborhood less desirable for them to support. So if they do give you a loan, they have higher standards and they will give you a higher interest rate. All right. So, and as simple as this, if a house is outside of the red lines, then the interest rate may be 3%. If the house is inside the red line, then it's going to be 7%. That over a 30-year mortgage is tens of thousands of dollars difference. Okay. Tens of thousands of dollars difference. But then the homes that are outside the red lines are in a higher land tax bracket. So those homes are in neighborhoods where the government gives more money for education. Whereas the homes that are in the red line districts, which are predominantly black, get less government money for education. Now, if America was truly trying to build people up, you don't give money to the ones who already got money. Hey, I don't know where y'all live, but I live in Atlanta. So what this means is Alpharetta, for instance, Alpharetta, Johns Creek is a high income earning area, 6 figures and above. And most of the people, and a good portion of the people are your mid 6 figures, like upper lower to mid 6 figures. You got Lithonia, Georgia, lower income area. Average household income there is about $60,000. And I'm talking about average household, not average individual. Alpharetta average individual income is 6 years ago was 127,000. I mean, 10 years ago was 127,000. I don't know what it is right now. Those people up there who are making 127,000 on the average personal income is receiving more government funds for their schools than the people living in Lithonia, where the average household is about 60,000. How much sense does that make? Tell me that is not strategic racism. Submit something like that. How is not, and this is supposed to be, and people run around and say, oh, we're such a Christian loving country. We follow this Bible. We're supposed to show love and compassion, and we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray that you get this house that's going to be 7-8% interest rate, 4 or 5% above whatever prime is. simply because of where it's located. And you got to have a higher credit score, or you got to come with a bigger down payment instead of the 3.5% that you would. So if you wanted a house and and your credit score is 580, you would have to pay like 5%. If it's above 580, then it's like, wait a minute, if it's 580, you're guaranteed at 580, but you would have to pay 5%. If you're 620, then it's 3.5% for like a FHA loan. But if you're in the red line area, then your house is not even supported by FHA. And the bank is going to look for 10, 20, 30%. Now you're already a lower income area, which means you make less money. So what's the likelihood of you being able to buy that house? It's very unlikely. This is why the people who own those houses are investors, and 90% of them are rented. And you know, when an environment is filled with rented homes, the people don't care about the neighborhoods as much. That's anybody. Doesn't matter what race you are. It's anybody. But we still do it. From Canada. All right, sir. It's too cold in Canada. So when people, so this, and I know people want to separate. They say, well, you know, the book is not, you know, the book is good, but the people are bad. The book is good, but the people are bad. All right, what does this book teach you? Let's take a moment and think about the story of Joseph and his dream coat, right? Let's skip the part about his brothers and how he was, you know, his brothers and all. Let's get all the way to when he's in Egypt. Joseph is in Egypt. He's Pharaoh's right-hand man, right? Joseph says that they're going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Okay. So during the 7 years of plenty, Joseph goes out and he collects, he taxes the people on their crops, on their wheat and their corn, or whatever they're growing. He taxes the people and he puts it into the storehouses. Now, if he knows there's going to be 7 years of famine, then those should be storehouses that the government is going to use to help feed the people afterwards, right? That would be the Christian thing to do, the good moral thing to do, right? You collect this, you're saving this so that when the people don't have, you can give it to the people. Give it to the people. But what does Joseph do? He sells it to the people. When the 7 years of famine starts, a little long ways into it, when the people start running out of their own grain and stuff and wheat, he sells it back to them. And so he sells back to them the stuff that he collected from them. This is the lesson that this book is teaching. You can say it's just the people, but look at the lesson that this book is teaching. That is the lesson that the book is teaching. Not only after he sells it to them, once they don't have any more money, then he tells them he trades the food for their cattle. Right? He trades the food for their cattle. This is kind of like what our government gave out some money, and then they told people, and they tell people you got to pay it back. Now, I understand them telling businesses to pay it back, but what if they told everybody they got to pay their little check back? That would be like messed up, right? Well, they did in your taxes. When you fill out your taxes, and if you got them checks, some of them checks were not a credit, they were a debit to you. I mean, they weren't a credit, they were a debit to you in tax world. You paid, it was counted towards your income, which meant you owed more taxes. So Joseph goes and he takes advantage of the people again and takes all their livestock. And then after he's taken all their livestock and the people are still hungry, he takes their land. And then after he take their land, he enslaves the people. He enslaves the people based on taking the products, the original product that the people had, the original resources that the people had, he took it from them because he's big government, then sold it back to them, and then took their properties and then took their bodies. But you know what he did? He made sure that his people, his family, they became the sheep herders. They were the shepherds, and they were taking charge of the king's sheep. And the king was taking all the sheep, the cattle from his own people and giving them to his brothers, to his father. He took care of his own folk. So when you say it's the people, is not the book, it's the people. No, this is your book. This is what your book teaches. You can't tell me that it's not the book. And if you say it's an allegory, then it's an allegory for take advantage of the people. That's what it's an allegory for. You can't spin that any other kind of way. Oh, people tried. They tried. Look at Joseph and what he went through. He had to go through being thrown in the pit. He had to go through being a slave. He had to go through being falsely accused. He had to go through being left in prison. He had to go through being forgotten about while he was in prison. And then God brought him to his opportunity. And his opportunity was there. He had to go through all that so he can take care of the remnant. Okay, fuck the people in Egypt then. To hell with all of them. And you want me to worship this God? You want me to pay respect to this God that says that, hey, I'm doing all this to Joseph and he being crooked as a mug. And here's the thing. If you're Jewish, no disrespect, but if you're Jewish, it's stories like this that you follow that makes people not like you. I'm just being honest. Because some people, I know some Jewish people, and they get mad when people use stereotypes towards them. But your group has followed this story, and this is how you do business. So if you do business like this, what the hell you expect? But now, black people will say, oh, I hate the term crabs in a barrel. It's a stupid ass term, and it's a dumb term. But you got to recognize that some of the behavior of black people is some of the behavior of all Christian people, period. But when I'm black, so I'm gonna focus on the black community, of course. You're hearing this book, and whether you realize it or not, it's going into your brain. And whether you realize it or not, you hear something over and over and over and over and over and over again, you will start to act on it in that way. So when you keep reading this story about Joseph, all you hear is take advantage of the people. Every time you have an opportunity, take advantage of somebody. Only help your crew. Don't give it two shits about anybody else. Just help your crew. So if you want to know why people do this, it's in this book that they believe. If one story is an allegory, it can't be based on actual. No, this book cites historical places and a few historical events, but it's not historical at all. But the sad part about it is that people are grasping to this book. So when I was talking to a Hebrew Israelite one time, and I was telling him, I said, so okay, you Hebrew Israelite, so Joseph, let's talk about Joseph, Technicolor Dreamcoat. This is what you believe. This is how you should treat people. No. That's what your book is telling you. That's what the story is. That's what the story is. We're going through Exodus right now on Mondays as to what's wrong with the Bible. Appreciate you, Ja. I like going to Hindu temples. They're very peaceful too, and they're beautiful. The artwork is amazing in Hindu temples, and you ain't got to be Hindu to go to them. But the Hindu temples, amazing artwork. But all these stories, it's a very self-centered outlook. If you really break it down, they have a very self-centered outlook. And then everybody wants to attach themselves to it simply because they're the biggest religions. If black people truly wanted to break away from the mental chains of slavery, then one of the first things they will break away from is the religion. They will break away from the religion. You would go back and you would start understanding what your ancestors were doing religious-wise beforehand. And you would not try to force your attachment of spirituality based on Christianity, based on the Bible. You just wouldn't. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you look at it, the Old Testament, you can say the Old Testament has more of the people of the Levant who had something to do with it. But once the Romans got their hands on it, the game changed. It became a European Western book. And yes, we can point at, I think it's 7 different Roman emperors who were black. So what? Those 7, I think only 1 or 2 of those 7 emperors were actually Christian. I think only one was. I think Severus Septimus might have been Christian. I'm not sure, but he might have been. He was Christian or Muslim. So, who gives a shit? Why should you care? Do you believe in reincarnation? You missed my whole video about that. Nah, I just playing with you. But yeah, to a certain degree, there's a certain process of reincarnation I do agree with. Not the Buddhist or Hindu way of reincarnation, no, but reincarnation in the sense of your sorry, got thrown off by another question. Reincarnation in the sense of this. Based on what I can surmise, I know that we are all conscious beings, but we are trapped in the poverty of these meat suits that we call flesh, right? And that this matter plane of existence is below our level of consciousness, of true consciousness. If we don't raise our consciousness to what people may call the Christ mind or the Buddha head, which is far beyond your books. Those terminologies are in no relation to your book. I'm talking about the word Christ meaning anointed, the Buddha head, the Buddha mind. Unless you raise your consciousness above this plane of existence, then you come back. Now, do you come back as a blade of grass? No. Do you come back as an animal? No. Your consciousness is too complex to come back and be placed in such a small body. It's kind of like when I was saying the other day, when you was on here the other day, God is too big for a book. That the moment, like the Tao says, the moment that you put God, the moment you give God a name, or the moment you put it in a book, then it is no longer God. Our consciousness is too big to fit into a squirrel. Like your consciousness is too complex. That means you would have, if you came back as a squirrel, that means you would have to lose who you are. Portions of your consciousness will have to go away. And we are made in the image of the all, in the likeness of the all. We're not the all. That's the divine paradox. We are not the all. But the all is all encompassing. The all can never lose any part of itself. If it ever lost a part of itself, then it's no longer the all. So basically, in terminology of regular terms, if God ever loses, God cannot separate itself, nor lose a part of itself, then it was no longer God. You can never lose or separate yourself, because then you're no longer you. Your consciousness is not there. So you cannot lose any portions of your consciousness so that you can become a squirrel, because otherwise, if you became, and the divine paradox is that the all is in everything, but everything is not the all, because the all can never not know itself. You can never not know yourself. So you can never be a squirrel and not know yourself. You will be a squirrel knowing who you are. So you come back, but you come back in one of these meat suits again. Inglés Felipe says, I believe that we are from an earlier form. I agree. Until you raise your consciousness, I agree. And every time you come back, you have to forget the majority, if not all, of what happened in your life so that you can try again. I've been saying that as well. How can you confine God to a book? You cannot. I'm gonna try this on this phone. Oh, it worked. Gotta be gentle with it. No one talks about what the church did to Native Americans, took away their language, religion, and names, talked to an elder to get another perspective of the church. Yeah. The Native Americans were treated just like the slaves who were brought across to America. As a matter of fact, one of the worst ones, and this is worse psychologically, not physically, but psychologically, the creation of the 5, the word just fell out of my head, 5 civilized nations, right? The 5 civilized nation was the American government saying that, hey, we would treat you halfway decent and give you some land, but you have to dress like us. You have to speak like we speak. You have to believe in Jesus like we believe in Jesus. This is what they did. They forced these people to give up their identity. in order for them to sign a treaty with them to keep their land. But but it wouldn't be relative to time, correct? No, the only relativity to time that you would have is the relativity of time that you exist on Earth. Um, Outside of Earth, space-time there is no space-time. There's no time. Yeah. You're just a being. The sons of Mithra used to say that time is like a river, ever flowing, and you can pull from any parts of it. You can enter and exit in any part of time. Has a different understanding of that. What do you think about heaven and hell? Heaven and hell are states of being and states of mind. I was in hell last night, y'all. I was in hell. This eye was hurting so goddamn gone bad. I was in hell. So who the hell is at my front door? But anyway, sorry, my little front door ring thing keep on popping up. Heaven and hell are constructs of your mind. It's not a place that you're going to go to. It's not a place that you're going to be punished in for all of eternity. It's not even the hell that the Jewish people believe. Hell is a separation from God where you just cease to exist, period. But hell is a state of mind. Right now you can be in heaven. Right now you can be in hell. Me and my lady was sitting on the front porch just enjoying each other's presence. That's heaven. See what I'm saying? We was talking about a few days prior last week on the day that we both had a day off, and we didn't even do nothing special, but it was heaven. You understand what I'm saying? There is no heaven and hell except for what you create and what you manifest. Now, I do believe as you raise in consciousness that you manifest your own heaven and hell at a higher plane of existence. But the beauty of it is that nobody's been there. Nobody's been to any heaven or hell that has been created by that any of these books talk about and come back with proof. It is all speculation based on what somebody wrote. If you think about it, and it kind of correlates with what Prince D is saying, was sin created by the Romans as well. Hell was actually more of a Roman creation. They already had their place called Hades. You understand the early Christians, the first Christians, they followed the same idea that the Jewish people followed when they said that you just had a total complete separation from God, you just cease to exist, and that is hell. But there was no eternal punishment. But in the Greeks and the Romans, they had Hades. That is an eternal punishment. The Egyptians didn't have an eternal punishment. If your heart was heavier than a feather, then I think Sobek would consume your heart and you would just cease to exist. You didn't go into the field of reeds and to live with the gods, and So this concept of hell was more of a Greek Roman creation. It wasn't a Christian creation. It wasn't a Jewish creation. It wasn't something that the Abrahamics ever taught. And so by that, now was sin created by the Romans? No, not so much sin. Sin wasn't created by the Romans. Sin is a natural aspect of man. Every religion has a nature of sin in it, right? And whether you're looking at Pandora's box, the teachings from Pandora's box, or any other situation where sin entered the world, because there's always a different scenario of how sin entered the world. According to the Sumerians, they entered the world by the fact that Titi was pregnant, and she wasn't supposed to be pregnant. So man came into their own self-awareness, and man coming into his own self-awareness brought about this understanding of good and evil. Hell is real. Separation from God is unbearable. If your separation from God is the same way that it was originally taught, it would be bearable because you would cease to exist. And if you don't exist, you wouldn't even know. You have no concept of it. You'd be like a baby. You'd be completely like a little baby. No concept of it. You just existed. Like when a baby is born, it has no concept of good or bad. It doesn't. It's just existing. It learns and adapts and picks up everything thereafter. its mind then develops. They need to have the fear of burning for eternity. You would obey them without it, right? And they had to create that fear, right? They had to create that fear. That fear had to be created. In fact, your 7 deadly sins. The idea that I was talking to somebody a couple days ago, and I was explaining to them how there was a time frame in Europe where people were, their life was hard. They was tired of struggling, but they believe in Jesus and all that kind of stuff, right? So they would commit suicide. And then that became a problem. And I forgot which pope who did it, but one of the popes came out and said that, hey, committing suicide is an unforgivable sin. Now, your book clearly says that the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, right? That's only an unforgivable sin. But then they started making up things and saying that suicide was an unforgivable sin, so that people would stop committing suicide, right? And they start telling them that if you did, you would go to first it was you would go to purgatory, you go to limbo, and then not too long ago they got rid of limbo, so you just go to hell. God gave us a choice when, which is from the paradox, from Pandora's box. God didn't give us a choice. We just have choice. You cannot prove that your version of God is the version that is supposed to be the one. I don't think the all is not puppeting lives and shit like that around here. The all is just existing. It gave you natural laws, gave you rules, gave you the way that the universe works, and it's for you to figure out. And it's for you to raise your consciousness and get there. It's not down here sending messengers and all this kind of stuff. Do you think that morality is subjective or objective? And it depends on the time in which humans live. It is very subjective and objective based on the time frame that you live. Laws that we have today, morality that we have today, are different from the morality that I had when I was growing up. I mean, just think about it. I'm only 51 years old. I'm still a baby, right? Because I plan on living to be 150. So I'm a teenager right now. And if you think about it, if you're of my age, not to gaslight or start a big discussion about it, but trans and homosexuality was a negative morality across the board. 99% of the people that you would come across, it was evil and all sorts of things. That morality has changed. Has it not? If you're old enough, let me say if you're at least 40 years old, and if you think about it, when you was around 10, 11, 12, it was a completely different cultural mindset as far as the morality of homosexuality. But now it's different, right? Slavery, the morality around slavery has changed. You got to think, people who were born, say, in America, in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta, that's where I live. If somebody was born here in 1686, slavery was just normal. There was nothing wrong with it. God ordained this slavery. As a matter of fact, I'm going to point into the book where it says that you can keep your slaves, and if you have slaves that are foreigners or foreigners that live with you in your land, that you can make them to slaves and pass them down to your kids. I'm going to show you in the Bible where it says it. And if God ordained it, and if I'm white and they black or they Native American or whatever, they Chinese, I can make them into my slaves and pass them down to my kids. It's in the book. There's still a blue law book in Virginia that says that on 12 noon, you can take your wife to the courthouse steps. And as long as the whip is not longer than 12 inches, you can whip her. And I think it's like 6 or 7 times is the max, right? So, but of course, that was something that men were able to do like 100 years ago. But we can't do that now. Yeah, the morality that Americans have would not fly, and even in other countries, they still have that morality of old. That's why they are considered savages in third world. That's part of their whole thinking that makes them that. What was it? I think they tried to force. I think the president of Uganda, because he had put some homosexual guys in jail, and they tried to force him. The world community, the Western community, tried to force him to change his law, and he was like, "Y'all can kiss my ass." Basically, is what he told him. If black people led the world in terms of societal development at one point of time in history, what happened that we have declined in development? That wasn't. You bring up an interesting point there. I want to say your name, but I know I'm gonna mess it up, so I'm gonna say the last name, which is Libodu. Libodu. If I'm saying that right, let me know. Uh, I don't like mispronouncing people's names, but I want y'all to think about something. He's saying that black people used to run shit, used to run things, had it on lock. Yeah, I'm gonna get to yours in a little bit, C-Mac. I ain't seen you in a while, brother. Um, Black people used to run things, right? Let's just go to the time frame of the so-called Dark Ages, right? Recognize the Dark Ages was only the Dark Ages for Europeans. Everybody else was doing great in the world. Nobody else was having a dark age, right? Now, the Moors came in, and the Moors, they taught them not to sleep with their animals. They taught them that they should bathe, you know, once a day, that they shouldn't drink stagnant water, that they should brush their teeth, that they introduced soap to them. They introduced colleges to the Europeans. They began the Renaissance and brought Europeans out of the European Dark Ages because the Chinese were not having a dark age. The Mesoamericans were not having a dark age. They were fine. And people of color were leading. But, bloodlines, wars, resources, all those things take effect. And once the Moors were all kicked out, that kicked off this age of colonization. They like to call it the age of discovery, but it was only discovery for Europeans. It wasn't discovery for anybody else. We already knew we was here. We knew the ones who was in America, they already knew they was in America. The ones who was in Africa, they knew they was in Africa. It wasn't nothing to discover. It was European discovery. But from what they learned as far as the Renaissance and moving forward from the Moors, they took that the next step, because you got to think and you got to be realistic about it. And this is what one part where people get mad at me because I just won't be, I'm black and I'm black and I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black and black and black. I won't do that. The only reason that Europeans became the dominant power on the planet is because of lack of resources. If you look at the continent of Europe, it doesn't grow shit, hardly anything. It doesn't grow enough to feed the people in Europe. It doesn't have nowhere near the resources. It doesn't have gold. Like Europe doesn't have any gold mines. Like they have very few mines of any kind of mine, right? They don't have the resources. So for lack of resources, and necessity being the mother of all inventions, they invented ways to go out into the world more efficiently, because it's not that black people were going to the Americas. We were going to India. The Indian people in India were going into the South Pacific. People were traveling and trading. They make it seem like people were just stuck. But people moved around. But they had to move around more efficiently because they didn't have any resources. So that's what made them a world power. On the negative part is they created supremacy, where they had the white supremacy going with them. And I can't just blame them, for that. People had tribal supremacies mentality. People had national supremacies in there. Genghis Khan had a hell of a supremacy mindset. So other groups had supremacy mindset. The Aztecs had supremacy mindsets. But that's a natural thing with people. People are going to have this supremacy mindset. because they haven't raised their consciousness to a higher plane where you don't look at anybody as you're better than them, right? C-Mac 73. Ain't if that's the same C-Mac that used to be on my channel a while back. Ain't seen in a while. Can you please tell them how can you have free will if you're punished by choosing wrong? You know, that is always the excuse of you have free will, but if you don't choose God, then you're going to hell. Come on, man. That's not free will then. That's not free will. You're not giving me a choice. You know, it's a strong arm. Oh, appreciate the donation, Mac. C-Mac just donated $10 to the movement, to the channel on YouTube, and I greatly appreciate that. If you want to donate to the channel to keep this thing going so that we can grow, and so I really want to do this like 4 times, which is the main reason why I try to build my business. Been working, my brother. Enjoy the cold glass of your favorite beverage on me. I most certainly will. It's called a Spezialise. It's a German wine by Fitz Zimmer called a Spezialise. If you can find it and you like sweet white wines, that's my wine. Fitz Zimmer Spezialise. But shit, maybe it's not free will. It's not free will, right? That's like, I don't like the cold. I don't like the cold. But if somebody said, you either got to go live in the Arctic or die, shit, I'm finna go live in the Arctic. But you got the choice. You got the choice. It's not a choice. It's not free will. So there is no such thing as free will as far as these religions are concerned. My free will is the fact that I got the free will to raise my consciousness so that when I leave this meat suit, I rise to a higher level of reality, a higher consciousness. That's my free will. My free will is within myself. It is not outside myself. Right? Free will is a lie. Uh-oh. Once I start messing with this, I mean, leave that one alone. You can't scroll on this Facebook. That's like the freedom of speech. You can say what you want, but if you say anything against the government, then you're going to be punished. Exactly. You know, the job that I held in the military, I sure as hell don't have free will. There's a whole lot of things. There have been time frames when people start having certain conversations, I have to get up and walk out. I can't even be within earshot of certain conversations. You know, you don't have free will. You can't. I mean, and some of it makes sense. Some of it makes sense now. You can't go into a crowded movie theater and scream out fire. We don't want to do that. But yes, free will is within. It's something that's totally within yourself. It is not outside yourself. We have to stop looking outside ourselves for our salvation. And your salvation, you're only saving yourself from yourself and other people, from this. You're saving yourself from this matter plane of existence. That's what you're saving yourself from. You're not saving yourself from a devil. You're not saving yourself from demons. The only devil and demon you're saving yourself from is the one that's inside you, the one you create, and the ones that you create, and the one that you create, and the one that you create. Because there is the law of cause and effect, and people can't affect you, right? What the other people do can't affect what happens to you. You can be the effect of somebody else's causation. But those are the only demons and devils that's out there. That is the only negative out there. But everything else is inside. So your free will is the free will of you choosing to be a higher conscious man, to being an adept, to becoming a master, you know, to control your emotions. Like, can you imagine how much better this world would be if we merely learn how to control our emotions? I ain't saying you got to be like Spock and what are they called? I want to call them Vikings, not the Vikings, the Vulcans. You don't have to be a Vulcan, you know, live long. You ain't got to live long and prosper. Yeah, I know it. I'm a Trekkie. I like the trek, but we ain't gotta be that emotionless, but just to control your emotions. One of my favorite books. So people always ask me what books to read, books to read, books to read. And if you've ever asked me that question, you know I'm about to tell you one of them that you've already heard. And that is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And one of the biggest things about that book is one of the biggest things he talks about is that in order for you to conquer the devil within yourself is that you have to be able to control your emotions. And these are not, it's not like how you think of controlling your emotions where you're stoic, but controlling your emotions, not just anger, because anger has its good usage, but controlling your emotions, even love. And this is why men fell in relationships. This is why everybody fell in a relationship. But some people would feel kind of weird if I said that you have to control love. They think that love, you just let love, just let love out, just love and just let it love. You're in a relationship with somebody, just love. Hell no. People have to earn your love. And then you don't let love, and see, uncontrolled, unbridled love will cause you to make dumbass decisions. You want to meet somebody who's let unbridled love cause a dumbass decision, and they are still reeling from those decisions. How you guys doing? My name is Coach Renz. How you doing? My name is Coach Renz. How you doing? My name is Coach Renz. I made some dumbass decisions based on love, and that's why I'm sitting in the cigar lounge and not sitting on the beach, because I made some dumbass decisions based on love. That's why I had to experience this Georgia winter again, because I made some dumbass decisions called love. I have to be here at the cigar lounge every goddamn day because I made some dumbass decisions back in the day based on unbridled love. Oh, she's not happy. I'm spending too much time at work. She's afraid of doing this, opening up another shop. Well, I want to make sure she's happy. So, she shouldn't have shit to say about this business because she don't know what she's talking about, and I shouldn't even deal with her. Nah, but I gotta make the relationship work. Let me let you in, let you have some say. I'm gonna let you do some of the things you want to do. Dumb shit. I've done some dumb things based on trying to make somebody got a thriving business. It's thriving. It's good. What? There's a whole nother space. You're gonna give me every location in that space that I want. Oh, but you ain't happy. You want to move. You don't want to stay here in Georgia no more. Okay, I'll shut it down. I'm pretty sure I can go down to this other place and start again. Get down there, you can't start again because there's no opportunity. Yeah. Love cannot be unbridled. No emotion can be unbridled. There are people in prison right now because they lost control of their emotions for 3 seconds. There's a guy named James. He comes in here. This is one of his favorite things to say. He's told this because I'm here every day. Of course, I've heard the story like 50, 11 damn times. But he talks about how this OG in the prison would always ask the young guys, how many seconds did it take for you to get here? Because the OG wants those guys to understand that it only took you 3, 4, 5 seconds to get in prison. You lost control of your emotions and you murdered somebody. There's a guy I went to high school with. It was a sad thing. It was I ain't gonna say his name, but he caught his girlfriend. He caught his girlfriend, not his wife, caught his girlfriend cheating on him. And he murdered him. He murdered the guy and the girl. I'm sure everybody has heard some similar story to that. It's not uncommon. And then he was going to go to prison. And if the memory serves me correctly, I think he killed himself. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Uncontrolled love, uncontrolled anger. 3 people died. All by the same hand. It's a waste. Asked about reincarnation. His ass coming back. Because he didn't raise his consciousness at all. Government represents God. The word love is just a cop out. Yeah. I don't know. I forgot the guy's name, but Ill Mind. He has a song called Ill Mind. He said that would mean the government's God. So what is it? What if all of this is just a facade? Because that would mean that the government is God. But he says it a lot better than me. Damn, I wish I'm gonna listen to this song today. I actually used to listen to that song all the time because it's a great song. What is the artist who sings the song Ill Mind? It's a rap artist. He used to be a Christian rap artist. Then he flipped over. Then he walked away from it actually once he studied the book. It's a great video. He's like out in the middle of the desert, like in the salt flats when he shot the video. But the words are very good, very powerful words. Make you think. Afraid to be the lead. Now, a lot of men are afraid to be the lead. But we talked about the different morality being objective and subjective. In today's world, if a man is just being a leader and a servant leader at that, it's toxic masculinity. That's some bullshit. Toxic masculinity is when I think that my manhood gives me the right to beat your ass. Hobson, thank you, Albert. Hobson, Ill Mind, and his other song that I really like too. So Hobson, Ill Mind, and the Nocturnal Rainbows. I love that song, Nocturnal Rainbows. It's another great song. So Ill Mind, Nocturnal Rainbows. These songs are like 15 years old by now, 10, 15 years old, but great songs by Hobson. That's Hopsin. But, and with that, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, toxic masculinity. This is, now they call it toxic masculinity. You know, a lot of the men that I grew up with. Now there were some aspects of my grandfather that was toxic masculinity. From the stories that I heard about my grandfather before I came along. I'll put it that way. I'm gonna tell y'all, it broke me. It broke my heart when I found out that my grandfather used to be physically abusive towards my grandmother in their earlier years, because that wasn't the man that I knew. If you saw my video yesterday, I did the video yesterday about, you know, if somebody did something wrong and then they repent and they change and they're different, you can't still hold them accountable and still treat them the same way that you would have treated them when they were doing the jacked up things. It's a struggle for some of my aunts and uncles to think about my grandfather in a positive way. I remember, and see, my youngest uncle has so much of a distance between my older aunts and my mom. They used to get into these arguments because my youngest uncle didn't know my grandfather when he was that guy. He knew my grandfather after all of that, right? And what had happened, according to the story, the last time my grandfather thought that he was going to jump on my grandmother, the daughters, my mom and they two sisters, they grabbed him pots and pans and went to town on his head. All right. Grandfather realized that I have a choice. I can still be an asshole, or my daughter's going to whoop my ass with these pots and pans. I think I stopped being an asshole. But it's hard for them to let go. And I understand. I get it. Because that's what you grew up in. That's what you saw. And even though my grandfather was still a mean, he was kind of mean. He was very, you know, gruff kind of man. But not to me. You know, I knew you knew how far you could push him. Like, you go in there, you know, you change the TV, and you know, he'll fuss at you and change it back. Yeah, I just changed it again when he go back to sleep. You know, me and him used to get into it. I used to take some butt whoopings because I would question things that he did. But the man that I saw took care of his grandkids. He took care of his kids. He took care of, you know, his big family. Like, now there is like 90 members of my family here in Georgia that we go on a family trip every Labor Day weekend, and they all come from the bloodline of Eddie J and Isabel Ross, right? And it's like 90 of us based on those two people, right? It is the way he became. But some of his personality that he had even when I was growing up would be considered toxic masculinity. Like, I don't know if my lady she's not on any of the platforms right now, but I dare her to touch the trash. Dare you to touch. Like, I pull that trash thing out to the street on Tuesday. She'll come to the house before me. But I bet she better not wheel that thing back towards the garage. Hell no, we're not doing that. That's AJ Ross Systems. We're not doing that. You don't touch the trash. You don't pull the trash out the trash. You don't pull the trash bags out. You don't take them to the trash, to the bucket. You don't do none of that. The closest thing she can do to the trash is put a bag in there if I forget to put a bag in there. But beyond that, my lady does not touch trash. She does not touch the trash. And there's some other things that's coming that she probably ain't gonna mind. I don't want to tell her right now because my time is so messed up. I got to get my time right, because by the time I get off work, it's always too late. By the time she goes to work, it's always too early. Oh, and she's right there. Don't be looking with them eyes. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, very, very soon, you will not be allowed to go and pump gas. My lady cannot go pump gas. We don't do that. It irks the shit out of me. Honestly, she doesn't know it, but she's knowing it right now. It irks the shit out of me that because of our scheduling, that she pumps her own gas. Hell no. But do you know that I've been told that that's toxic masculinity? Today, it didn't used to be, but now it is. It's the way of the world. But the other parts, I don't give a shit. Care less about it. All right. Come on with some more questions. Because like I told y'all, I'm hurting today. I'm hurting. These allergies got this eye hurting right here. It's cleared up. If you look at this video from the beginning, it ain't cleared up, but it's better now than it was when I first started this video. It was red as shit when I first started this video. Now it's kind of slightly red. Right. You got some weak men out here. You do. You got some men out here who are too damn weak to stand up and just say that, hey, and if the lady don't like it, then that's just not a lady for you. Keep it moving. If my lady was all masculine, she wouldn't be with me. I'd tell her, go be with another woman. Because evidently you want to be the man. That's what I would say. You want to be the man, go be with another woman. Because I'm the man, you're the woman. That's how it works. There are benefits on both sides, and there's work on both sides. So what? It's still equal. Danielle said, I'm just curious about gas pumping, why she can't. So gas pumps are nasty. Gas itself stinks. You know, you're standing outside, you're pulling up the gas pumps. You're standing there by yourself. You don't know who may run up on you. So to me, it's a whole safety thing as well. And I'm very big about safety. Very big about safety. Like she accidentally called me yesterday and the phone hung up. And then I kept calling her back, but she didn't answer because the phone slid between the seat. After about 5 minutes, my safety paranoia started kicking in. Like, okay, which direction might she have went? Let me see if there's a car wreck in that directional pathway. You see what I'm saying? The safety thing. So going out there and pumping gas, especially at night, and you by yourself, no. And then just the stink of it and the gas and no. And you know, and the thing about it, I was raised that way. I don't know if my grandfather did that for my grandmother, but I know by the time I got old enough to recognize things, I was like 5, 6 years old, and I was pumping gas for my mom and for my grandmother. You know, we pull up to the station. You know, I got out and pumped the gas. She said she don't mind about not pumping it. Good, because I'm gonna figure this out because I can't stand it. It bothers me every time you have to go get gas for yourself. And even though you don't tell me, I just know you do it. But we gonna figure that thing out. Actually, ain't nothing to figure out. There's nothing to figure out. All I gotta do is just get my ass and just take your car and go do it. It's that middle of the week time frame that throws me off. But I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get you. Weekends I can handle. Middle of the week I can. Okay, you're gonna add that to your list, Danielle, and you should. No man should let his woman go out there. I mean, you shouldn't be. And sometimes, you know, your woman's running low on gas. She may not be in the best area. No, she shouldn't. She didn't have to be out there pumping gas. That's messed up. I ain't going for it. You know, there are people who talk about traditional relationships and all that sort of thing. And a lot of that comes from religion and whatnot. And some of it I'm cool with. And it's things like pumping gas. I'm cool with that. Like a man should be able to earn. Like no man should be sitting on his ass. You need to go earn. That's good. What about driving? Nighttime, anytime is a no. Exactly, Albert. Nighttime, anytime is a no. Yes, I am purposely ignoring the question that was just asked about a woman, the woman driving. No, you're in the car with me unless I'm hurt or we're on a long trip and I'm sleepy and I can't handle it. Like, I will tell you, I was kind of tired this morning. It was a struggle to drive this 15 minutes to get here. I was real sleepy, because I ain't had my coffee because I forgot it. I left it at the house. But no, 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 no. If I'm capable of driving, then my lady should be able to sit over there and relax and enjoy the ride. You should be able to just read, play with your phone, do whatever you're doing, but just relax and I'll drive. You know, I'll be alert, paying attention to everything. I got it. You enjoy the ride. Sit up there, take your shoes off. I was about to say kick your feet up, and now keep your feet off the dashboard. But take your shoes off and just enjoy the ride. I gain actually an enormous amount of pleasure driving and knowing that she's getting to relax and just enjoy the ride. That if she wants to take a nap, she can take a nap. If she wants to read a book, she can just read a book. I get a huge kick out of that. Huge kick out of it. But no, unless we like, you know what? I was about to tell a lie. I was about to say unless we like driving cross country, then she can drive. But even if we were driving cross country, I'm gonna drive from here to New Orleans, and we stay at a hotel. Then the next day we drive to San Antonio, stay at a hotel. Then El Paso, stay at a hotel. Then Phoenix, stay at a hotel. Then San Diego, stay at a hotel. You ain't gotta drive. I got it. I'm good. Cause we're gonna drive for about no more than 8 hours a day. So I'm good. What about the bills? Do you believe to pay all the bills and women take care of the kids and maintain the house necessities? If it's possible, I do. Now that's going to be based on how much money that dude is making. And there's some variables that go into that in today's world. See, back when we was more agrarian, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. That's a straight cut. Yep. Get his ass out in the field and she taking care of the house and the kids. Today's world is very different. There's a couple that I know. She's a neurosurgeon. He's a basketball coach because she wanted and had the desire to be a doctor. So he stayed home while he worked as a basketball coach while she was in school. Then once she graduated, she started working as a doctor. He stayed home with the boys and raised the boys, took care of the house because she made like 4 times as much money as he did. So that's a different type of scenario. So it depends on the situation when it comes to that. But if it's possible and your lifestyle and both of y'all are happy with the lifestyle, then hell yes. Now, I'm not saying a woman can't work. Kids get big enough. Shit, she want to go to work. But still, you should still, let me tell you what's hurting people the most. We're living off 2 incomes. You should only live off 1 income, no matter who makes the most. 1 income. That's it. Look, were there times when living off 1 income, everybody got new cars, but I got used cars? Yeah. But when my kids, they got put on the bus by their mom and they got off the bus to their mom. She was there. That means a lot to children when they're growing up, their development. It means a lot. It makes a huge difference in who they become. To have that parent there, to have that parent that can volunteer at the schools, that can go to the PTAs and go to all the parent-teacher meetings, that can do the extra studying with them, to do all those things. That means a lot to developing a family. So you have to ask the question, which one is more important? Developing the family when the kids are small, or having all this money, 2 people are tired all the time and y'all trying to split everything and nobody, and the kids are coming home, they in the after school programs and y'all ain't got time for the kids because y'all got to go to sleep because you got to get up and got to start this whole routine over again. Then on the weekends, you're trying to have a little bit of fun, but the kids probably got all kind of events. So you run around to all that kind of stuff. Which is more important, having a 5-bedroom house or having a 3-bedroom house and you can afford it off one income? Having 2 used cars, or both of y'all got the latest and greatest? What's more important, right? So first you have to decide what's more important, and if that stuff is material things are more important, then so be it. Both of y'all working, both of y'all paying bills. But if not, that dude should be aspiring to make enough money so that y'all can live whatever life it is. And then I can tell you this: when a man has peace in his life, he has a tendency to make more money. When a man is receiving all the affection that he desires to receive, he has a tendency to make more money. And so it's imperative. It will behoove any woman to make sure that the husband is satisfied in those factors so that he can go out and make more money. And then if that dude wants that woman to be that lady, he should make her life as easy as possible so that she can be that lady. And she can make, and you see how it becomes like, a circle. That's right, no feet on the dashboard. I love multiple streams of income. I'm into building, leaving a legacy. And you can do that. You can still do that. And then today's world is completely different as well, because you can have the stay-at-home mom and she is making money without ever leaving the house while the kids are away during some downtime. I think that's why a lot of people are divorcing in older ages, because they lost themselves in each other, giving all their time to what you were talking about. Exactly. A lot of couples have done that. If you think about it, two people are married and both of them are working, and all they're doing is working and half-ass raising the kids, right? Then at some point you've went 2 different directions. Then the kids are gone, and now you don't know each other. So you wind up not liking the person that you first married. To each his own, right? And it is to each his own. You just have to find out what's the balance that's going to work for you, and what's most important to you. See, like for me, I don't like. I try to make it where my woman doesn't have to work. That is always my goal when it comes to it. I don't want her to have to work. Now, I'm 51. Hey, I'm not gonna have a woman with small children, and we're not producing any kids. So if she wants to work, I don't care. But we're not going to build a life based on. The life can't be built on 2 incomes, because what if something happens? Like, there was a couple back in the day that I knew. I still know them, but we don't really talk. There was a couple. I told him, do not buy this house. We was riding around looking at houses. I said, don't buy this house. And you got 2 brand new cars. Don't get them 2 brand new cars. This based on both y'all income. I said, what if something happens? Right? And he was like, it don't matter what happens. She gonna always work. So they had their first child. The doctors broke the child collarbone when the baby was born. She was like, I'm not sending my baby to a daycare, and with that issue, which is completely understandable. And then I think he lost his job. Well, first that happened. And when that happened, they already was in, now they're getting behind and everything, getting behind her. Now, I was making some really good money back then. So I was, helping. I was giving him money. Every month I was giving him money to try to help pay their bills. But the fact remained that he couldn't afford it. And then he lost his job. And I was paying their whole lifestyle for a while. And then one of our other friends was like, hey man, you're an enabler. And so I was like, damn, I am an enabler, because this joker was supposed to go and get this IT certification. He never went and got it. And I realized there was no rush, because I was paying all their bills. So I had to let it go. And when I let it go, some months later, they had to move. They lost everything. All because they were living on 2 incomes. Now, him losing his job, that made it even worse. That was a shit sandwich all the way down. But I've seen situations where families have 2 incomes. They live on 1 income. Something happens, they're still good. I've seen it where the house mortgage was in one person's name, and then that person, some stuff happened, credit went crazy, but then they was able to refinance in the other person's name. You know? Or even just the first person got the house, it was at 7%, but then interest rates get down to 3% and they refinance the house. But this person can't refinance it, so the other person refinance it. It's all about coming into a, like you said, a balance, and then working as a team. You know, working as a team. I was telling my lady last night, move to Puerto Rico, I ain't gotta have a big old house. It could be, everything can be very simple. Very simple. And I make enough money now for us to be able to move down there and live very simple and have a nice, peaceful life, nice size, you know, decent sized little place, close to the beach. Ain't gotta be close. I'd rather be in the mountains personally, but close to the beach. And we still have plenty of money left over on one income. I don't like doing the two income thing, but to each his own. You know, but I do think it's a man's responsibility to make sure that his ass is earning. If a man hasn't set himself up to earn, then my daughters won't be with that joker. Just in the same way my son would not be one of those kind of men. His ass got to earn. And whenever I have grandkids, which I'm not rushing, them little jokers gonna learn how to earn too. If their parents don't teach them, I'm gonna make sure I teach them. But they gonna learn how to earn, especially if they boys. You know, I am completely biased when it comes to boys and girls. If any of my daughters wanted to come live with me, come on, girl, come on. That boy, why you need to come live with me? What's your plan to get the hell out? How you gonna get back on your feet? You can come on in, but I need a plan. Girls, come on in. I got you. You're my girls. That boy, hell no. Now, the same token, I gave my son a lot more freedoms than I gave my daughters. Them girls want to go away on that 11th grade, go on one of them school trips. Is your mama going? Oh, she ain't going. Y'all ain't going. My son want to go in 11th grade. Boy, go on out there. Go out there and be a man. Hopefully some shit happened and you got to struggle through it. You know, get some experience. Learn how to handle some stuff. But that would be called toxic masculinity today. You don't think you spoke negativity in his life by saying don't do it? Not saying it's your fault, but if you would have spoke abundance, it would have been a better outcome. I speak both. I'm going to say it this way. I spoke both into his life. You know, I told him that, you know, I gave him all the reasons why he should just base everything on one income. Because also the benefits of just basing everything on one income is that while your wife is working, that will allow you guys to be able to save money for investments, but it'll also enable y'all to take more vacations and spend more quality time with each other, be able to go on dates and all that kind of stuff, that your wife will be more relaxed, you know, because y'all are spending this quality time. And y'all will be able to date more because you have more finances. You know, whoever said that money doesn't make you happy is a person who doesn't have money. Because money can make you happy because money gives you the opportunity to go have experiences that makes you happy, you know, to live a life that can make you happy. So, but there is you only need so much to do so. But no, actually, I spoke a lot of positivity and abundance as far as why he should do it, not just on the in case this, in case that. I actually don't like doing the in case of thing, but it was the biggest push, the biggest sell that I was trying to get across to him is that even if she worked her entire life, if she were to be able to put let's say she put her whole check. No, I ain't even go that far. Let's say she was able to put $400 a month into an S&P fund that averages 8% per annual. Then by the time that you guys are 65, you will have over $700,000 in that account, and that's just one investment, you know, towards your retirement that you can live off of. And then you could probably, if you move that over into another account that I know about, then, well, you have to make a little more to get it. You have to get a little higher. So, last year you got to get it up a little higher to get into that account. But anyway, At that point, you'll be able to just live off the interest for the rest of your life. And then you can leave the rest of that money over to your kids, thereafter when you pass on. So it was a huge investment strategy that I was also giving them as far as how they can just benefit themselves, benefit their kids, make sure that they have another investment that will ensure that their children didn't have to have any student loans, so that they didn't get hemmed up like I did and many other people did with student loans. So a lot of it was sold to him more in a benefit way, an abundant way, instead of like if shit happens, But look, what's the old saying? Plan for the worst, but hope for the best, right? Even though I don't like the idea of hope, because I always say plan for the worst, plan for the best, plan for both of them. Well, let me rephrase it. This is how I say it, because I ain't said it in so long. I forgot how I actually said it. It's plan for the worst, but expect the best. Because I am like super optimistic. I always expect everything to work out perfectly great. Like we're having an event here tonight. I expect the room to be completely filled up, the standing room only, and people even have to stand outside, especially since it's going to be 80 degrees today, that they'll be outside and it'll just be a plethora of people. I expect the best. But people can create their own situations. Now, I'm not saying she created a situation where the baby collarbone got broke. But as far as opportunities, there were opportunities that was coming across his desk and he wasn't taking them. And I was like, dude, take that opportunity. You got in-house training from your job. You need to take all those, make yourself as indispensable as you possibly can. You didn't do it. Can't help you. My aunt, 25 some odd years ago, 30 years ago, she was, it can't be 30. Yeah, no, it was more than 30 years ago. She had just missed a layoff with her job. And I told her, I said, hey, look, start taking all them classes that they got at your job, all them classes, make yourself indispensable. And she did. And then she did this disaster relief thing, and she wound up going to Miami for Hurricane Andrew, and she was a claims adjuster. And she started taking so many of those classes that if a building burned down, she can tell the fire marshal, she'll tell the fire marshal how the building burnt down before they even get there. She made herself so indispensable that the company would never get rid of her. They had invested so much into her, they would never get rid of her. I was telling him the same thing. He wouldn't do it. Common sense is not common. Right. But it's just like right now in my business. Like there are people who always come in here and they say, "Oh, I want to open up a cigar lounge. I want to open a cigar lounge. What can you tell me about opening a cigar lounge?" And one of the first thing I always, and then they'll say some dumb shit like, "I want to open one right over here," and there's already like 5 cigar lounges in that area. And I'm like, okay, so let's say you want to open one in that area. What's going to make you different from everybody else? What's going to make people come to you? But if you can't go and just do the same bullshit that everybody else is doing, you can't set up the same way everybody else. You got to make yourself done. So that was because I was telling you the abbreviated version of the story, Danielle. I wouldn't tell you the whole thing. But now I've told you the whole thing. But, when people want to start a business, I'm like, okay, what's going to make you different? There was a guy, he started a Caribbean restaurant. And out in Latonia, Decatur area, you can throw a rock and hit a Caribbean restaurant, right? And this other guy, he wanted to start one. But he went up to Alpharetta where there was no competition. His brother makes millions. Now he has a couple of them. He makes millions. Another guy, he had a food truck he wanted to open up, and he wanted to be different because everybody in Atlanta had a soul food truck at the time. So he thought he'd do a fusion of soul food and Mexican food. It's called the Blaxican. He had the food truck, but then he opened up a restaurant. Did he open it up in the Black community? No. He went up there to where there was no Mexican and there was no soul food, and he put the Blaxican in that area. Now he has two of those restaurants. Well, no, does he have 2? I know he had 2, but I think one of them he moved. But he did something different. We're afraid to do things differently. Sometimes we got to do something different. Stop doing the same stuff that you see everybody else doing. We was in here talking the other day. I told my ladies too, go buy a parking lot. How many Black people that owns parking lots? You don't. I mean, I don't know any. And I'm talking about Black Americans. There's some I know some Nigerians who own parking lots in Atlanta, but how many people own parking lots? And a bank could probably give you a loan for a parking lot faster than they give you a loan for a restaurant. There are two businesses that banks hate giving loans out for. That's gyms and restaurants, because they open and close. They have their grand open, they have their grand closing. The profit margins on restaurants are very low, and they're hard to meet. Even if you can get to that highest level of the profit margin, which is 40%, is a 35 to 40% profit margin on restaurants, it is very difficult to hit that number. That means you are giving out the exact amount of napkins and the exact amount of ketchup, and you have zero food waste. You have perfect accountability of employees for each day. It is incredibly hard to hit that margin when it comes to food. And gyms are just, they're so fattish. Trust me, I had a gym for 10 years. Shit is fattish. They go in and out. But we need to get it. Black people we need to get into different businesses. You know, this started out about religious shit, but now we're into this, which is fine. But like I said, my mind was cluttered earlier for lack of sleep, because I was having some weird dreams because of my eye hurting yesterday. Let me tell y'all how bad my eye was hurting. I know this ain't got shit to do with what we talking about. My eye was hurting so bad last night, and I can't, like, my lady tried to squirt the little stuff in my eye last night, and I'm like, I didn't close my eyes. My eye was hurting so bad last night that I had a dream that I was being attacked by a bunch of people trying to squirt eye drops in my eye. Common sense, maybe not common, but showing someone else a different outcome makes it more common sense. Makes more common sense. And you're right, and that's what I showed him. I showed him in the whole deal. I never give anybody half of a plan, just the negative side of something. I'm always going to give you more of a positive side of something. If I'm like working with you, like let's say you decided you want to hire me as your coach for business or life or whatever, or coming out of spirituality, I'm going to give you the positive, more of the positive side of it, more of the optimistic side of it. You know, a lot of people, when they talk to me about spirituality, they say, man, I want to come out of this, but I'm so afraid, you know, what my family going to do, how my community is going to treat me, and all these sorts of things. I tend to talk to them more about the positive aspects of it, the freedom that they will receive from not having to condense yourself to the size of this book, all the stress that you're not going to have because you're trying to keep up a standard that keeps on changing and a goalpost that keeps on moving. The more positive outlook you'll have about yourself, simply because you're not looking at yourself as a filthy rag, or you're unworthy, or you're always falling short. To walk away and not have that fear, there's a tremendous amount of stress that you carry because there's a fear of hell, but you don't have that fear anymore. That 10% that you was given to the church, now you can put that 10% into an investment. You can make you can situate yourself up for a better life, and then you can give your time as charity if you choose to, and you don't have to keep giving your money, right? But there's a lot of positive. The time that you get back now. You ain't got to show up. You ain't got to be there on Wednesday night Bible study, and then you got Saturday this, and you got Sunday that, and all that kind of stuff. You ain't got to worry about all that stuff no more. You know, and you don't have to worry about people judging you, as far as like directly right there judging you. Now, people gonna get, some people gonna get mad at you because you walk away, but you don't have that judgment no more. There's a lot of benefits of walking away from these traditional religions. You have to center your life around these religions. Well, now you can center your life around you and your family. You can center your life around that. You can center your life around your development in your spirituality and recognizing who you are, learning more about who you are, how the universe works. There is so much more power in understanding the 7 hermetic laws than there are in reading that book, right? They say what do they like to say? There's power in the name of Jesus. No, there is power in the law of cause and effect. You want to know power? Understand that law of cause and effect. And if you want to know true power, understand how all 7 laws work together. And you will have more power over your life than you can ever imagine. I like to use for those who like to have some type of ancient wisdom that's other than the hermetics, it reminds me of what's in the Gospel of Thomas. I think it's the second writing. It says, "Seek and you shall find, and when you find, once you find, you will be disturbed. After you are disturbed, you will marvel, and then you will reign over all." It is not a reigning over other people, but it is a reigning over all of who you are. Because when you seek out true understanding of your consciousness and understanding those hermetic laws, understanding chakras, uh, understanding a lot of some of the other ancient esoteric teachings, as you start to develop it and understand it, it disturbs you because you realize that you've been indoctrinated into a system that is designed to keep you down. But so it disturbs you. And then you're also disturbed because now people are going to look at you differently. You might lose family members. You might lose friends. People are going to judge you and they're going to be casting their little brimstones of you going to hell. So you'll be disturbed, but more you'll be disturbed internally because you've grown up believing this thing, and now you got to let this stuff go. And that is hard. That is very difficult. And that causes you to, feel some kind of way. Like you'll second guess it. You'll have doubt. You'll second guess a lot though. But then once you get past that, you'll be amazed at how much freedom you have mentally, emotionally, physically, how you're better able to control your emotions and control the outcome of your life and what happens in your life, where you go, what you do. All that freedom comes, and that freedom of your mind is so much better, and the freedom of your spirit becomes so much better. And then you get the reign. Once you start reigning over all of this, when you recognize that you are in control, that you are the goddess, there's absolutely at that point, you should be able to squeeze all the juice out of this life. All the juice. We was talking about that last night. How this is Jamaican lady. She came to America because she always wanted to come to America. American dream, I want to buy, want to have a house, want to have a car, want to have a business and all this kind of stuff. Got to America, got all that stuff. But then she realized all she was doing was working just to have the house and the car and all that kind of stuff. So she moved back to Jamaica and she bought this rustic retreat. And she walks around barefoot all the time. And she just enjoys herself. She enjoys every day picking bananas off the banana trees. And she just enjoys her life. And we was talking last night about, while we were sitting on the front porch, we were just talking about how people, that's what they do. They work to have whatever they have, but they never really get to enjoy life. They never really enjoy themselves. Of course, people say, well, I travel. How often do you travel? And why do you have to travel to go and enjoy your life? One of the reasons we're moving to Puerto Rico is so that we can have even more daily enjoyment. Just chill. Imagine a life where you can just do what you want to do every day. What you want to do every day. You ain't got to wake up to no clock. Unless you purposely are doing so. Like, hey, I want to go. Somebody, I ain't gonna name no names, but somebody, you want to get up and go see a sunrise. Somebody would rather wait till the sunset. But you get up because you want to go see a sunrise. But that's what that freedom that's the freedom that happens when you actually reign over all. When you truly come to understand whatever Gnostic person wrote. Selfish, just greedy. You want both the sunrise and the sunset. But whoever wrote that Gnostic gospel, the Gospel of Thomas, when they wrote that part, they was on point. There's a lot of parts actually in the Gospel of Thomas that they wrote. We're gonna dedicate a whole video towards the Gospel of Thomas, whole day, a whole live towards that. But that thing it says things like if the soul came into being because of the body, then the soul is in poverty. But if the body came into being because of the soul, then something. But it's great. I forgot what that other part said, but it's great. it tells you that you have to understand that the kingdom of God is inside you and outside of you. It's all around you. But if you don't bring that which is inside of you to the outside, if you don't bring what's inside of you to the outside, then the soul remains in poverty. But when you bring the inside to the outside, then the soul dwells in heaven. It's something like that. I'm messing this all up, but we'll do it right next week. Those kinds of understandings of true spirituality and truly who you are, it gives you this freedom that you can't experience within a religion. And it gives you the freedom to be able to walk away from things. Right? To open your crown chakra means that you have released all earthly attachments. Yeah, I'm in this cigar lounge, but I have no problems handing the keys to my business partner and say, dude, I'm out. Bank, come get this car. Landlord, keep the deposit. I'm out. You know, people was asking me why I didn't buy a house when I moved over here to this side of town 2 years ago. Because I'm leaving. That's why. But I could walk away. None of these things matter. You know, and to have that kind of freedom of mind and spirit to say that you can walk away from all this stuff, all this material stuff. How do they tell people in church that you know God is blessing you? Because you got a house, because you got a car, because you got this. God, it's all material. It's a bunch of material things. Is their biggest measurement. Now they'll tell some people, you know, you had a spirit inside you, you're happy, you know, you can get through anything, you know, whatever. You ain't gonna put more on you than you can handle, even though that's not what it says. It says that he won't put more on you without providing an escape. And think about that. The book actually says he won't put more on you without providing an escape, but that's not what they teach. They teach he won't put more on you than you can handle, meaning they want you to continue to carry the burden. But it's actually telling you that you're not supposed to carry burdens. But then they tell you that God is blessing you by giving you the house and the job and the car and all this kind of stuff, giving you more burdens to carry. That doesn't sound like a good religion. It doesn't sound like a good philosophy, you know. Once you're free, it's not going back. No, I would never go back to you. Look, if all of a sudden, shilling, God just appeared, the God of the Bible, Jesus, just shilling, and said, I'm Jesus. I'm Yeshua, Yahushua. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that Bible that's right over there that I use for my other videos. I'm going to say, hey, bro, I need you to point out all, I think I know most of the bullshit. I need you to point out all the bullshit. I want to know what actually is real in here and what's bullshit. And if he says, oh, it's all real, man, you're an alien. What kind of transporter technology y'all got? Because that's some bullshit. I'm not going for that. There's absolutely no way this is the right thing. You know, I got questions. Wouldn't believe it. Not even slightly. Oh, it's 12:30. Let me see. Nobody outside. I don't see nobody, so we good for right now. Now y'all know after 12 o'clock, Cigar Lounge is technically open. I used to stay on here for a little while longer, just in case somebody walked through the door. But depending upon who walks through the door, you know, I kind of have to stop. It is a business. But it was funny last night. I said, look, we'll pack up all them cigars back there. I'll pack all them damn cigars up. Either we'll sell them online, or I have because she does smoke cigars as well. We'll have a nice stash at the house. What's this bedroom? It's a humidor. Nothing but cigars in there. What? Anybody got any other questions? I'm gonna go unlock this door. If you got any other statements, questions, let's get them out before somebody walks in. Sitting in this chair too long, my knee getting stiff. But yeah, the beginning of this video was about creating attachments based on race and nationalities to these religions only because they're the most popular religions. If you really think about it logically, it's because they're the most popular religion. Maybe we are not even on any subject, Miss Prissy, really. Maybe this is a bit off subject. If it is, I'm sorry. Nah, don't worry about it. But I see many, I got one contact in and one contact out, so it's kind of weird for me. But I see many of the Bible verses teaching people to not respect themselves and see others as more vulnerable than themselves. I'm not quite sure I understand that. Let me read it again. I'm not reading it loud. I see many of the Bible verses teaching people to not respect themselves and see others as more vulnerable. Oh, more valuable. Sorry. Valuable than themselves. You know, I can agree with you. I think the concept of the Bible is to teach people, is to teach them, like you said, unhealthy when it allows others to cross boundaries. I see it that way, and I can agree with you wholeheartedly because it never ceases to amaze me how many pastors growing up I heard Colin say, "We're nothing but filthy rags." You know, and I stick with them because I remember when Reverend Young said that, and I was 9 years old, that you're filthy rags, undeserving of the Father. But Jesus came and made you pure as white as snow and took the sin for you and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking, like, why would God create a being that's filthy rags, that's worthless to him, and then have to wait thousands of years to send himself, after taking advantage of a little girl and then dying so that you can then be cleansed? Why would you have to kill all these animals prior to that so that you can be cleansed of your sins? You have a scapegoat that you put all your sins on and you send it out. Why create a being like that? If your goal is to have a heavenly family, just create your heavenly family. I mean, you did that with the first batch, the angels, but then they rebelled, and then you had to do it again with the humans. It's stupid. It's a dumb story. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical, right? For example, if a person slaps you, give them the other cheek. Really, that's assault. Forgive 77 times or some number, right? If you slap me, I'm not gonna give you my other cheek to slap. That's dumb. Like, hey, yeah, I know you slapped me. Slap me again. Oh, no, you slapped me one more time. Hell no. And then I'm gonna forgive you. I will forgive you, but then I may not want to be around you no more. I'm not gonna trust you no more. You need to get out somewhere until you show me that you're trustworthy again. No, I'm not just gonna keep forgiving you. Oh, damn, you stole from me. I forgive you. Oh, you stole from me. I forgive you. That's 2. Oh, you stole from me. Oh, my bad. That's only 3. Oh, you stole from me. Oh, that's only 4. Hell no. That's stupid. That's stupid. And then when it says, like, whatever government you was born under, you have to respect that government because that's the government that God gave you and that you should pray for your leaders. No. Some of these leaders suck. So that means that the people who were born under the Third Reich, God put the Third Reich in place, and you're supposed to pray for the Third Reich. That black people were supposed to pray for FDR, although he created redlining. That we were supposed to pray for all those presidents that kept slavery going and all that stuff. That the king, that when the Europeans was under serfdom, that they were supposed to pray for the kings and queens who oppressed the hell out of them. That the people who were born under Idi Amin's government were supposed to pray for Idi Amin. Are you serious? Hell no. That the French Revolution, those people were wrong. The American Revolution, those people were wrong because they went against the government that they was born under. You see how it doesn't fit? That mentality does not fit, right? But then they'll turn right around and say that God was on America, the colonist side. God was on the French side. You know, when one African nation conquered another African nation, our God was on our side. When the Zulu and the conquered most of South Africa, that their God was on their side. And then when the Europeans came in and conquered them, then this guy was on theirs. You see, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of bullshit. The Zulus conquered because Shaka Zulu was an amazing military general. And his ass got tricked by Christianity and they lost. And then he had some weak ass generals that followed him. The same thing with Alexander, great tactician, conquered all the way to the Indus Valley, but then the 4 generals that took over, they weren't as good. The Romans conquered them. The Romans did well, then the Visigoths and everybody else kicked their ass. Empires rise and fall. That's just the nature of things. And everybody blames their God or gives credit to their God. But I'm not going to say that somebody else is better than me. I actually had there's only one pastor I know of, Reverend Purpose. He asked the question one time. He said, it was in like a little forum. He said, does any of you think that the apostles are better than you? And everybody like, oh yes, the apostles, they was with Jesus. They better than me. And he was like, no, they're not. They're no better than you. They all had flaws. They all had issues. None of them were better than you. Stop thinking that you are of a low. And he said, stop thinking that you are of a lower caste. He was like, nobody is better than the next person, regardless of what time frame or who they're around. So it's the concept of many gods when you think about it. Yes. I actually would have rather lived in a time frame where henotheism was more of the trope than this monotheistic mentality. Because in henotheism, you have your God that you believe in, and everybody accepts that your God exists, and that's fine. But you also accept that their God exists, and that's fine. That's why this book will say the God of, tell them that I am the God of the Hebrews. I am the God of Israel. I'm the God of, these are my people. That's why you got the my people. For the people in Babylon, Marduk was their God during the Babylonian Empire. So you had different gods who were their God. The city of Ur, the god Sin, I think, when Abraham supposedly was around, Sin would have been the god of Ur. And Sin, and then but the main god of Ur would have been Enlil, because that was the main Sumerian pantheon god for the most part. Some areas it was Enki, and so on and so forth. Then in the Indus Valley, you had Ishtar, you had Inanna, you had all these different ones who were gods over a certain area. You had the feathered serpent over in the Aztecs and Mayans, so different ones. I can't understand how so many follow a pastor who's driving cars and the worshipers are walking. I ain't gonna ever understand that. And then they'll try to say, oh, well, he made money selling books. No, first he made his money off y'all, and then he got popularized, and then he sold some books or built the production company and all of that. They got my man out there, got a fleet of airplanes. And then still be telling the church, I need another plane. Because he loves flying. Can't do it. Cannot do it. But, But the concept of many guys, I'd rather actually deal with that. That would be a better situation. Because then everybody would respect everybody else's belief and not try to dominate the other person simply based on beliefs. But then we need to have a level of reality in there. We should all look at their gods. Everybody's gods should be looked upon how the hermetics look at the all. The all is not manipulating anybody's lives, or how we look at sports. Hardly anybody will say that the reason why Kansas City won the Super Bowl is because God was on Kansas City's side and not Philadelphia's side. Most of the players on both sides were Christian. So they all praying to the same God for victory. But God chose one over the other? No. Most people look at sports in that situation, especially the people who play the sport. The people who play the sport hardly ever say that we won because God was on our side and not the other team side. They recognize we put a plan together, we worked our plan. Whoever had the best plan and the best talent, they won. You know, you have certain circumstances that just happen. That's how most sports people, when you play sports, that's how you look at things. It would be better if we can look at life that way. You don't, I conquered, but I won, but I didn't win because of my God. I won because we had better technology, or we had a better strategist, or we had the high ground, you had the low ground. You know, what are the situations, the parameters around that victory that determine the victory? This is why the law of cause and effect is so powerful, because when you understand cause and effect, you can put yourself in position to be the causation so that you can get the effect that you desire. If you ask a streetwalker how the pimp got his money, they will defend it in the same manner. They sure will. Boy, them streetwalkers will. They'll defend that pimp left and right. Sometimes I believe we need something or someone to look up to, no matter what their stance is or how they represent the pulpit, because many parishioners are worshiping pastors. What's up, Errol? Yeah, most parishioners are worshiping the pastor instead of the book. Um, this is why you guys heard me say there's a Buddhist saying that says, seek what Buddha saw. Don't seek Buddha, but seek what Buddha saw. If you meet Buddha on the street, then kill him. And the reason why they say that is because they don't want the Buddhists don't want people worshiping Buddha or the monks or anything like that. But you should be seeking what Buddha saw, which was enlightenment. People in the churches, if you decide that you're going to be in the church, you should seek what Yeshua saw, not Yeshua. You know, you should seek kindness and love. You should seek the enlightenment of understanding who you are as a son and daughter of God. That's what you should be seeking. You should be seeking to not judge anybody, because by that measure of your judgment, you will be judged as well. You should be seeking that type of mentality. That mentality lines up with the chakras. You should be seeking not to live in fear. Oh, thank you, Errol. I appreciate that for the donation, Errol, to the collection plate. Boy, you crazy. Um, but you should be seeking not you you should be seeking to love your neighbor as you love yourself, seeking to love your wife as you love yourself. Um, you should be seeking to be a servant leader to your family and your community. Those are the things you should be seeking, and not seeking Jesus, not seeking your pastor. You shouldn't measure your level of success, your level of devotion and faith shouldn't be measured by how you financially measure up to the other people in the church, the deacons and the elders and the pastors and all of that. You shouldn't be seeking the I gotta dress and walk and act like the mothers and the deaconesses and all that sort of thing. Right? I remember seeing this lady. She thought the pastor's wife was up in the front. She dancing, so she made her way through the crowd and got right next to her so she can dance. If the Holy Ghost hit her, it should have hit her back in the back. It shouldn't have hit her. But she had to wait till she got to the front for it to hit her. You know, stop seeking that admiration and being noticed by other people. Seek the peace and the tranquility of it. Think about it. A Yeshua story is that he went back home to Nazareth, and the people in Nazareth was like, "Boy, you ain't nobody but Joseph's son." And he was like, "You know, the prophet can never go home." He supposedly cast out all these demons from the legion. The dude had a legion of demons in him. They went into the pigs. Pigs ran off the cleft of the mountain. That part's still kind of stupid to me. But then the people's like, "Hey, man, we glad you did what you did for old boy, but we need you to leave." And he was like, "All right, peace. You know, hey, I'm out." You know, he didn't force it. I'm not. Stop forcing yourself on people. Stop forcing your teachings on people. Stop forcing your personality on people. Stop trying to force your rule on people. Imagine if the world took that idea and said, "Hey, you know what? Hey, we want to bring democracy to this country, but that country says we don't want your democracy." Okay, we do. Walk away in peace. Don't force your issues on them. Hey, You're a nation that doesn't have. Me and my lady's watching this. She loves these food shows. And this little Mayan lady, she in her little Mayan village. She making her little Mayan stuff. It looked good. Food looked good. But of course, you have people coming. I want you to come to the city, and I want you to make the stuff in the city, and I want you to do it how we're doing. Leave that lady alone. She's perfectly fine making her stuff, but they convinced this lady to go to the city. She will lose her cultural identity by the third generation. Her daughter will still get it, but her daughter's kids, not so much. That fourth generation, hell no. Everything that lady has been taught for generation after generation by generation, staying in her little pocket of life, will now be lost within 4 generations. Leave people alone. That's what. Stop trying to push your narrative onto other people. If they were actually following Jesus, that's more of the mentality they would have. Not jumping on here. You going to hell. You gonna wish at the great day of judgment when your name is not in the book and you go to hell and you burn for eternity. You gonna regret everything you said. Hey man, if I choose not to deal with your stuff, leave me alone. I have never walked up to a Christian person and walked into a church or anything and said, "Hey, y'all wrong." Do you? Now, if you come ask me a question, that's different. You jump on my feeds, that's different. But I never seek these people out. I'm on TikTok or Facebook, I'm scrolling. I see somebody preaching, I scroll. I don't stop and challenge them. The only time I ever did that is if a person has a thing up there and they're asking people to come on and debate them or question them, or, and even at that, I may say 2 seconds or something, then I'm out. I might listen to it for about 2 seconds, then I'm gone. But if they were actually trying to live this life of this book that they're talking about and follow this Yeshua character, then they would not show up at your front door trying to convince you to become one of them. There will be no Jehovah Witnesses going out. But that's a contradictory in the book, because the book says go out and make disciples of all people, right? So they take that as a mandate that they can go out there and they can say whatever they want to say to everybody. But when the people didn't want to listen to Jesus, he left. He walked away. So why pester people? Leave them alone. Why try to control other people's countries? Leave them alone. The United States told Africa, we'll give you $55 billion over the next 3 years, but we want you to spend it this way. I love that lady in Zimbabwe who told America, keep your shit and go on somewhere. I forgot her name. I don't know her name, but he was like, we don't need, you don't give us the money and then try to tell us what we got to do with the money. But hey, well, good people, it's almost 1 o'clock. And yeah, I'm hungry. And I'm going to eat lunch. Unlike other people who do videos, I'm not going to sit here and eat in front of y'all. Saw this video earlier this morning, lady just a smacking and shit. And it wasn't even one of those videos where people go there to watch her, eat, which is weird to me. But they just on the video, or they be in TikTok forums and they be eating and shit all on there. I'm not sure if my relatives hate me or hate that I left the religion. Oh, they probably hate that you left the religion. Who keep coming to my door? They hate that you left the religion. And therefore, since they hate that you left the religion, they push that onto you as a person, because they, but they should realize that you are you, no matter what religion you believe in, that you are still family, that, if y'all are the kind of family that got each other's back, that you still have each other's back. That if y'all can still have fun together, y'all can still have fun together, regardless of your religion. I enjoy my family every time we go on our little Labor Day weekend trip. Ain't got nothing to do with the religion part. And they've been knowing this about me since I was, well, they saw the progression. But at least at 21 and on, they know I was completely like, nah, I ain't getting down with this. But they hate that you left. It causes insecurity within them, because if you can leave, then maybe somebody else. They'll lie to you and say that, oh, well, it's really because we just care about your soul and all this kind of stuff. No. If you leave, there's a doubt that hits them that says, what if I'm wrong? There's a possibility that something could be wrong. So they need you to conform and be exactly how they are, so it makes them feel more confident in what they believe, instead of them just having confidence without the need of anybody's agreement. You know, I've said on many videos, I could be the only person that believes what I believe, that knows what I know, and I'm fine. I don't need anybody's agreement, and you shouldn't need anybody's agreement either, because your journey is your journey, and it's only your journey. Oh, Facebook shut off because I ran out of power. But your journey is your journey, and you can't worry about other people's journey. They don't care where I go now, so I'm sure they don't care where I'm going. And if they hold a religion so tight that they're willing to lose family members, then let them go. Family ain't blood. Family is the relationships you develop with other people. That's family. That's what family is, right? That's what family is. Enjoying the people that have a desire to be around you, that have a desire to love you and be there for you, and you be there for them, and y'all have fun together. That's what makes family. Just like a marriage, you don't marry your blood, but they become your primary family. So if somebody, just because they got blood relations, shit, you only family by blood. But as far as relationship, hell no. But you're right. Thank you, Errol. Appreciate your donation. I appreciate CMAC donation today. I appreciate everybody for being here. The question and answer, y'all helped me out a lot today because my brain was muddled earlier this morning. I actually sat here for 30 minutes and I started 30 minutes late because I was sitting here like, what the hell am I supposed to be talking about today? Because I couldn't remember nothing. But it still was a good day. I had a good day, good conversation. So I appreciate you guys. And if I get a chance to do another live before Tuesday, I'll do another live before Tuesday. But of course, on Tuesday, we're Exodus 11 and 12 and what's wrong with the Bible. Exodus 11 and 12 on Tuesday, and we're going to keep on rocking that. We're going to go through Exodus. Can't promise we're going to go through the next book, but we're going to go through Exodus. So y'all have a great day. And remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration. Yeah, I know Facebook. I didn't plug. I got to get another power cord for this other phone so Facebook won't die of power. So my apologies. But y'all have a great day. Later. I'm hungry.